What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Good Wolf Project. I'm your host, Jerry Scarlato. Today, I want to talk to you about understanding the importance of getting 1% better, why it's important, and what it actually means to get 1% better, because I think it's kind of an abstract idea. And part of the idea for this conversation came from explaining that to one of my clients slash best friends slash previous clients slash employees slash whatever else she actually is, mentors in a way, even though she's half my age. But I was explaining to her the importance of getting 1% better, and she's heard me say it 1,000 times because she's been around me for 7 years now or something like that. So she's heard me say get 1% better. And I don't think that a lot of people understand the concept behind it, even though it makes sense. On one end, it's like, 1% better. That doesn't really seem like a whole lot. On the other end, it's like, well, what does it really mean to get 1% better? What does that correlate to? So that's what I want to clarify today. And also, again, why it's so important to understand. But before we get to that, I do want to go ahead and, I guess, toot my own horn a little bit, because on my story the other day on Instagram, which if you don't follow me on Instagram, you should be doing that. It's at Jerry Scarlato. Go ahead and do that. I'll give you a second. Nonetheless, on my story the other day, I was talking about body positivity and why it's not correct, and how you can be on either end of the spectrum, either be overweight or underweight and not feel good about yourself. I have personally been on both ends of the spectrum. I have been over 240 pounds and I've been under 180 pounds. So I've had a 60-pound fluctuation in my adult life, and I have not felt good on either side. I more recently have been under 180 pounds. And so last year around this time, my goal was to start to put on weight. And today, this shirt, which is from one of my good friends who trains here in the Cincinnati area, Kyle James. Thank you so much, Kyle, for the shirt. First time I've actually been able to wear it and not feel like I'm drowning in it. This is a large shirt, by the way, which I used to fit into pretty regularly back in the day, but I've been wearing medium shirts for a long time, which is fine. Okay. And most of my shirts are still mediums, but this is the first time I get to wear a large shirt and I actually feel like it's comfortable. Still a little big in some areas, but that's okay. I still have time to fit it out. Nonetheless, I was excited about putting this on, both to represent Kyle and that it's a large shirt and I feel good in a large shirt. So little win on that end. Let's talk about getting 1% better. The idea of getting 1% better is, again, it's a little obscure, but so are goals. And that's why the idea of 1% better is also very important, because we look at goals and we're told that we should have big goals in our lives if we want to actually achieve anything. If you've ever heard the acronym BAG goal, BHAG, stands for Big Hairy Audacious Goal. I think that comes from Jim Collins, maybe, in the business world. Anyway, it's a big goal, big, hairy, audacious goal, something really big that's really far away, that if you do it, you change the world. Moonshots are another thing that have been thrown out there. And when you hear these things, it's like, man, that sounds great. Let's do that. It'd be great to do that. And it would be great. I'm a big fan of big goals, but they're also very abstract. Even the idea of losing 50 pounds to somebody, which is a big, hairy, audacious goal, because 50 pounds is a lot of weight. It's life-changing, most definitely. Even that idea is abstract, because if you haven't done it before, you don't know what it feels like. You don't know the process. You don't know everything that goes into doing it. You don't know the end result. You don't know what it takes to get there. You don't know a lot. So it's still an abstract idea. And it's here where it's important to understand one of the two concepts we're going to talk about, and that's the difference between outcome goals and process goals. Outcome goals are the things that we go after, the outcomes that we're trying to achieve: losing 50 pounds, making $100,000 a year, those kinds of things, growing the business 20%. Those are outcomes that we're trying to achieve. Those are the things, when people set those kinds of goals and those kinds of goals only or primarily, those are the things that get people to quit the quickest, because most of those goals are far away. Most of those goals are down the road, down far enough that if it feels like you're not making progress fast enough, you can convince yourself to stop, and you can convince yourself to quit sooner than later. And obviously, that's not productive if your goal's to achieve the goal. So you want to be able to keep going. So that's where process goals come into play. Process goals are the things that you do to get to your goal. It's literally the process that you go through to get to your goal, to achieve the 20-pound weight loss, to make $100,000 a year, to grow the business by 20%. It's literally the process that you go through. Those types of goals are the things that dictate whether or not you actually make progress toward that goal. If you don't do the right steps in your process, the right steps, the most effective steps, then you're not going to move toward it. If you do effective steps, then you will move toward it. If you don't do them often enough, then you won't move toward it. If you do them often enough, then you will move toward it. So there's more play in the process than an outcome. In the outcome, we can look at that. We can go, there it is, 50 pounds. I want to lose. That's what I want. And then you can very easily track it and whether or not you're doing it. Weigh yourself every morning or once a week, whatever you do. And either you're closer or you're not. You know whether or not you're there. Process, there's more to pay attention to. So it's not as fun, but it's what makes it happen. It's what makes it happen. It's the process of getting there. And that's important. That's important. So that's a big part of what we're talking about when we talk about getting 1% better, is the process. It is the process of completing the things within a day so that you do your best today to get to tomorrow. The process, again, kind of seems weird. So let's define what that means. The process is the actions that you take to get to your goal. The actions are literally just the things that you check off your list every day. It's literally just the things that you go, okay, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. Got it. Bam. Done. So if we're talking about losing 50 pounds, your daily process might be have breakfast, and breakfast is 3 eggs with some egg whites, some spinach mixed in with a side of fruit. And then have lunch. Lunch might be a salad with chicken on top, with olive oil dressing, with 1 whole egg mixed in, with maybe some avocado mixed in. That's way too much fat, by the way, so don't do that. As I'm thinking out loud. And then you do that, check that one off the list. And then dinner might be something else. Anyway, so you have your check of food that you're eating, and then exercise for 60 minutes. Check that off the list. Get 8 hours of sleep. Check that off the list. Drink a gallon of water. Check that off the list. And bam, you've done your process. You've done your process to move closer toward that 50-pound weight loss. And you do it, and you do it, and you do it until it stops working. And then you change something in the process. You replace something. Maybe the salad quits working and you have to take that out and you have to add something different in. And then things start working again and you start moving forward. That's the process. Those are the actions that you take. So the idea of getting 1% better every day is doing the best, executing your process to the best of your abilities every single day within just a 24-hour time period, so that you set yourself up for success the next day. Because when you think too much about what's happening tomorrow or next week or next year or how long you have to go until you get to the goal or whatever, if you're thinking too much about the future and about what it takes to get to the future or all the obstacles that you're going to run into or whatever else might happen. If you're thinking too much about that, that's what kills people. That's why people quit, is because they're focused too much on the thing that's down the road. Whether that's tomorrow, whether that's, oh, I got to do this again tomorrow. I got to do this again next week. I got to do this again next month. How much longer do I have to do this until I get to my goal? It's that kind of thinking and that kind of just churning in your mind. That's the stuff that kills goals and dreams. It's that kind of stuff right there. So focusing on the process, getting 1% better every day, is doing the best that you can in that 24-hour period only. Think about that day, that 24-hour period, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, doing the best that you can with that day only, so that you set yourself up for success the next day. That's all. That's all you're trying to do. That is all that you're trying to do. Because eventually that process will stop working. And like I said, you'll have to change it. You'll have to do something different. You'll have to take something else and then replace it with something new. That's going to happen. And if all you're doing is focusing on the outcome down the road, if that's your main focus, then once the process stops working, you're going to go, well, I've tried everything. Hands up. That's it. I quit. When in reality, all you've done is the things that you started with, and you're just not getting to the goal as fast as you want to. And all of your focus is there instead of making the best out of today. So that's the process. I can't say it enough how important it is to understand that, how important it is to understand that that's what you control. That's what you have control over, are the actions that you take and how much effort you put into them. You don't have ultimate control on whether or not you achieve the 50-pound weight loss, or the $100,000 salary, or the 20% growth in your business. You don't have ultimate control over that. You don't. What you have control over are the actions that you take to get there, and the energy that you put into them, the effort that you put into them. Because if you only do them some of the time, if you have these great process goals, these great action steps, if you have them, but you only do them 50% of the time, you're not going to get your goal. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. If you only do it 60% of the time, you'll move toward it, but it's going to be too slow. It's not going to be, again, fast enough, and you'll end up quitting. That's why effort is equally as important as doing things that are actually moving you toward your goal. If you have the great plan and you don't do them, you're not going to move. If you have the great plan and you do them half-ass, not going to move, not going to be fast enough for you to want to keep going. And that's why the effort is so important. And that's why doing things, a minimum, doing 90% of it and getting it 90% done is so important. And that's a minimum. It should be 95 to 100% that you're getting done every single day. And that's another way that people mess up, is because they end up going off the wagon because they go out with friends at night and they just tell themselves that, well, I'll just start over on Monday. Let's say that happens on Thursday. You go out for Thirsty Thursday, and then you just wreck Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then you start over on Monday, and then you start getting frustrated because you're not making progress. Do the math. There's a reason you're not making progress. So you have to do it 90% of the time, at least, if you want to make progress. And that's where those two things coincide: the effective action steps and the effort that you're putting into them. That's what it means to get 1% better every day. Doing the effective action steps and putting your effort into it. Get 1% better that day. Focus on that 24-hour time period only for now. Now, again, 1% doesn't feel like a lot. 1%. Who wants to just be 1% better? Here's the trick. Let's say you put $100 into an account. And the interest on that account is 1% compounding over 365 days. And you're reinvesting the money every time. What that means is compounding means 1% of the first $100 takes you to the next day, which is $101. 1% of $101 takes you to the next day, and then 1% of that, 1% of that. So you're constantly adding that interest onto your total because you're reinvesting the interest, and then you're getting 1% on that new number. So if you have $100 day one, and you're getting 1% interest for 365 days compounding, by day 365, you will have a total of $3,778 and some change. $100 on day one, $3,778 on day 365. That is an increase of 3,678%. Did you catch all that? Did you catch it? I just put it in financial terms so that you can understand how that correlates to you. So if we take you today, whoever you are, whatever abilities you currently have, whatever weight you're currently at, whatever characteristics you currently have, whatever talents you have built into you right now, up to this point, take you, and you work every single day, you'll be 3,600+% better in 365 days, compounding. If you focus every single day on getting better, 1% better every single day, because it is compounding, which means that you are taking who you are today, getting better today, and then you're taking your new self from today to tomorrow, and then doing that again, and then repeating that, moving forward. Do you understand? Do you understand the concept? Because it's an important one to understand if you're going to grasp it and let it help you moving forward. It's literally taking your skills, building your skills today, and then taking that whole new you, because that's a new you once you've built new skills in a 24-hour period. You're a different person at that point. Taking that person, taking them to the next day, and then doing the same thing. And so on and so on and so on and so on. And that's why having the process and then putting effort into the process is so important. Because if you have the process and you complete it and you put the necessary effort in, that compounding will add up quick. However, if you have the process and you put half-ass effort in, that compounding will not add up as quick. It will not add up as quick. That's why so many people quit. That's why so many people slow down, because they are not getting the momentum, that they feel like they want and truthfully need to keep going, So that's what it really comes down to. That's what getting 1% better every single day is all about. It's about having your outcome. That's fine. But the outcome is just something that helps you track where you're going. It helps you know whether or not you're moving toward that goal. Outside of that, it's useless. It's useless. It just lets you know if you're moving forward. So you have your outcome. The most important parts are the process and the effort that you're putting in to today. So today, that's the most important part. When the process quits working, find one thing to take out, plug it in with something different, and then see if it works again. And that's getting 1% better. And when you compound that over time, that's where the magic happens. That's where momentum happens. It's when you stop that the momentum stops. It's when you stop doing it that the momentum stops. And that is so important. That is so important. That's why it's so important to keep going. That's why it's so important to not stop. Because when you stop, the compounding stops. 1% better, my friends. That's the magic. Make sure you share this episode with your friends so that they can get 1% better every day as well. Go out and win today.